You're listening to a Wales or Wales production.
You're also listening to Wales.
Visit walesorwales.com for more projects and shows like this one. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Train Station at 8, a video game music podcast. I return as your host/conductor once more. I'm Steven, and my brother Bryan is here as well.
Hey, conductor, that's really, clever, because we're a music podcast and Train Station,
Hey, you're right. I never noticed the train music connection.
Sir.
Man, I even called myself a conductor on a previous episode, and you didn't catch up on that.
I wasn't paying attention to that episode.
Well, we've got another guest here with us, Bryan.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, I know, and it happens to be another OC remixer. We're kind of on an OC remix kick. And it is Rexy, also known as Bev Wooff. So welcome to the show, Bev.
Glad to see you, but, are you really sure that electric train is a good idea? I was half expecting a steam train!
Well, considering all of the games and music that I listen to and play on Steam, that would be very appropriate. So, Bev, how about you introduce yourself real brief to the audience who may not know you already?
Okay, then. Okay, so, I've been the Ranger on Overclocked Remix for about 10 years now. I really enjoy doing a lot of video game remixes, as well as being able to dabble in various other forms of artwork outside of my own time. I do a DJ slot on RadioSEGA every Friday night called Sega Mixer Drive, where I play a lot of Sega arranges from across the wider community, and have a lot of fun with that. And I also contribute to other projects outside of the web, including helping out guys at the Sonic Stadium from time to time. And I think that's pretty much me in a bit of a nutshell at the moment.
Now, I promise that I did not go and actively seek out Bev to be on the podcast just because she's so involved with Sega music.
I don't believe you at all.
I won't deny that that's part of the reason. No, she's also... I've actually known you from OC Remix quite a lot longer than I have from RadioSEGA, even though I've been listening to that as well. So when I found out that you were connected to both of those things, I got really excited.
Well, it's kind of funny you say that, because while Sega is a big passion and one that helped me get into gaming, I'm generally more of a great platform gaming buff on an overall kind of standpoint. So the Sony PlayStation 1 and 2 were also important parts of my life. The Nintendo Game Boy as well. I think I've got every single Nintendo handheld except for the ill-fated Virtual Boy. But,
that doesn't even count as a handheld.
Those don't even exist. That's like an urban myth.
Oh, God.
You have what was it? A DSi? What was the weird one between Lite and the 3DS?
Oh, yeah.
The DSi, that was like the a standard DS, but with a camera on it. I just saw it as a spin-off more than anything else.
Yeah, I was just curious if you got every model, because they released a lot of those as well.
Oh, yeah. You have every color of the original game. Pikachu yellow.
Yeah, that would be hard.
That's cool. Well, then, I apologize for pegging you as a Sega personality, because I took that excuse to make this a very Sega-themed episode.
Hey, it's okay. It's part of the kinks where I stand right now.
Yeah, if you appear on Radio Sega, people are going to make assumptions. But anyway, so what have you been listening to recently? That's how we usually kick off the show, so Bev, why don't you start?
Alrighty, so usually when I do my search for remixes on Sega Mixer Drive, I go all over the web just to try and scout something new. And I can say right now, YouTube is a heck of a big pain right now. I pick out 3 new releases each week for remix highlight sections, and while there's still some good selections on those remix that go outside of those as well, I'll plug 2 projects right here and now. First of all, Ishinobubula's VGM cast series, which he has been doing on his own Twitch during this past June, taking requests from fans and performing them. And, well, after learning the songs over the course of 2 days, this is the craziest pianist I have ever witnessed, and puts my own skills into shame.
Wow. I need to check this out, I think.
He's on hiatus right now, though, but you really should check out the all 5 volumes he has put together. It's just it's just very intense, both creativity and being able to learn such complex tunes as well.
That's great. I've been very into the piano recently, just as an instrument. I have secretly harbored a need to learn how to play for a really long time, and stuff like that.
What kind of music does this guy do? What is it? Original music? Is it remix stuff?
It's mostly VGM remixes, though he's also been able to reach out for compositions of his friends as well.
Gotcha. That sounds really neat. I'd like to check that out.
Yeah. The second one I'm hoping to promote is a new arrangement of Fastlane from Anarchy Reigns, as put together by the original performers Rushden and Diamonds. They put it up on their own website just recently as well. And you know, sometimes when we hear these big rock tracks and latest Sonic Adventure tracks being reimagined as classic tracks in Sonic Generations, that's exactly what this remix sounds like to me. And is
oh, that's cool.
It's a really chippy approach to that. Kind of sounds like a Game Gear track more than anything else. Really enjoyed that.
Metal laying rubber like an automobile, pushing on the throttle cause I'm burning something powerful. Fuel injection action from my femur to my collarbone. Gone in 60 seconds as I'm blasting through the danger zone. Double time and rhyming, stopping on a dime. When they wave the checkered flag, you know I'm clocking in my time. Barriers are broken from the subsonic waves. I'm all gassed up knowing that the fast lane pays.
Have you ever listened to the Blood Rain soundtrack from Vert?
I've heard bits of it. It's like a Castlevania for the modern age, isn't it?
Pretty much. It could easily be mistaken for Castlevania music, and the reason I bring it up is because it's kind of the same thing where he breaks down the modern tracks that he puts together and plays them with the classic NES Castlevania style. And it's just really fun stuff. If you like that idea of a classic version of music, that's one of the best I've ever seen.
I do see what you mean by this. I think I've also seen this example from Yuzo Koshiro as he put together the Seventh Dragon soundtracks. Those are DS games that didn't make their way outside of Japan, but he originally wrote them as NES chiptunes before giving them the expanded range for the actual DS soundtrack.
Yeah, Dark Sword from OC Remix told us all about that album when he was on the show recently.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds very cool.
Be glad to hear that. And we see, outside from playing music, searching for music, I suppose it expands to my game outlook with anything else, but it probably comes down to what I've been playing recently as well.
Yeah.
So just over the past couple of days or so, I found myself picking up Crash Bandicoot 2 again, mostly because I haven't played it in years, and wanted to see if I could give myself a sugar kick from when I first got my PlayStation back in 1997.
Yeah.
Like one that really stands out for me.
I've only played one Crash Bandicoot game, and it was the third one, I think.
What? Yeah.
Yeah, I never beat it. I liked the motorcycle part. I couldn't really get into the game, to be honest. I've just never... Honestly, like, most of Sony's platformer characters and mascots have never really gotten to me. I guess I'm just more of a Nintendo Sega person.
I never actually paid attention much to the Bandicoot franchise or the music. Do you find it standout music at all, or is it kind of just par for the course for those type of games?
I wouldn't call it par for the course, but it's more like a par for the course mixed in with a little bit of new wave down there. And this is like two members of Devo that have worked on the entire soundtrack, so you may end up feeling something very whimsical of their own work as the band. It's not just that as well. Stewart Copeland from The Police works on the Spyro the Dragon soundtrack, and for the 3 other sequels as well. And,
oh my gosh.
And it really enjoys being able to put together some really worldly soundscapes in this one. It's like something I hadn't even heard in a platformer before that time.
Huh. Oh, that's nuts. I had no idea about that at all. The biggest Spyro the Dragon piece of trivia I know is that Elijah Wood at one point played Spyro, and that's pretty much it.
Yes, that actually happened. That was for the Legend of Spyro series. which really seemed to split the community when it actually first came out. I just still want to play it because, big Spyro fan at heart, want to see what all the big fuss was all about, when I make my own judgment. And I actually saw a story-driven brawler that seemed to be seemed to not only revitalize my interest in the character, but also managed to break out some of the monotony the series has had as of late. Really cool to see that.
Oh, weird. Yeah, I know nothing about that series. Do you remember Enter the Dragonfly? I think that's what it was called.
Oh god, Enter the Dragonfly, yes I do.
That was my first Spyro game, and I didn't know it was a bad game, so I just kept playing it. Bryan and I would play it for hours.
Well, I guess this is good. It's Spyro, right?
Yeah, people told us Spyro was good, so we're like, it must get good. So we beat the whole thing and hated every minute of it.
It was pretty bad.
It was a bad idea.
Enter the Dragonfly seems like to you what Earthworm Jim 3D was to me. I hadn't played a game prior to this, but I still caught interest because of the TV show. Oh god.
Yeah. Some series didn't translate so well in their later. Just speaking of Sega, some series have some trouble going on in their lifespan. But
well, I'm just glad we.
I had a question though. Which version of Enter the Dragonfly did you play again? PS2 or GameCube?
GameCube.
Oh, well, at least you picked the better version, so...
Oh, is it? Okay.
Well, there was a broken version of the game. Oh, dear.
Yeah, the PS2 version came out first, and that had a lot of awkward transitional glitches all over it. And the GameCube one came out a couple of months earlier. There were still some awkward bugs, but it was a lot more bearable for many.
Well, you kind of have to play Spyro on the GameCube because, it's purple, so you gotta just be themed with your colors here.
That's a great point, although ours is black. So
ours is black because we're boring kids, but
Okay, so anything else on your plate, Bev? Any games you've been playing with cool soundtracks or whatnot?
I suppose that's been the current kind of approach I have. I also have an Nintendo 3DS, but as far as cool soundtracks are going, I wouldn't really say much for Tomodachi Life and Harvest Moon at the moment.
Harvest Moon is a series that every once in a while puts out an excellent soundtrack, but then all the others just sound exactly like each other. So,
yeah, that's true. So, Bryan, how about you? What have you been listening to? Enlighten us.
I've actually been listening to a lot of different video game music lately.
Wow.
Which is kind of rare for me recently, just because, I haven't had the time for it. But yeah, I've been listening to a ton of the Super Marcato Brothers podcast. I've been going back to their old episodes. Well, not old, but ones I've missed over the past few months. Mm-hmm. And that's been extremely enjoyable. It was great hearing their Saturn episode. That was an interesting episode because they were actually unfamiliar with a lot of the music from the Saturn, and I was as well. I've played like some of the mainstays like Knights, but it wasn't like a console I grew up with. And it's not, and a lot of the games are expensive or obscure and I'm not, really interested in playing. So it's cool hearing a wider sample of that. I really liked the sound that composers were doing on the Saturn. It was a very funky, very jazzy, time where, as the Marcato brothers pointed out, it felt like these composers kind of started to chill out a little bit more than on the Genesis because I think they felt that they didn't feel that driving needed to be as intense because they kind of had more, range to work with. And a lot of just fun, groovy stuff came out of that era, even though it was an ill-fated era in the end. Like, it just has a very arcade sound to everything.
Well, you mixed all the creativity and funk of, like, the old Sega Genesis / Master System stuff.
Right.
But then you took the training wheels off. There was no... the restraint wasn't there anymore. They had CDs to work with.
Yeah, the standout track for me from that I hadn't heard before, I mean, the Knights track they played was incredible. It was that orchestral, theme for Knights.
Yeah.
But the standout track that was actually new to me was they played a track from Guardian Heroes. The name of which I can't remember. It was really weird, and they couldn't figure out why it was named that. I think it was a weird translation thing.
Okay.
But it was this incredible track that basically had a bunch of synth with a live recorded electric guitar and saxophone. And those two elements were absolutely fantastic on that song. But yeah, I've been listening to a lot of their other episodes. In addition, I've been listening... Okay, so speaking of Sega, and especially of Sonic, I'm a huge fan of Jun Senoue. who I'm sure we've mentioned many times on this show.
Yeah.
But he's a guitarist and a composer for Sega who did, most famously, I would say, both the Sonic Adventure games he's pretty much in charge of. And I was just looking up other stuff he'd done that I hadn't heard before, which is actually a surprisingly small amount of games at this point. But one that I came upon was Sega Rally 2006. And I hadn't ever listened to that soundtrack before. And it's done by a lot of different, composers, Senoue included. And I was just listening through that. And it is speaking of the Saturn arcade sound, this feels to me like Sega's kind of last hurrah into that era of music. And it's amazing. Especially like all the stuff Jun does on this is amazing. It's all kind of electric guitar, his very, jazz / rock / pop style, and I can't get enough of it. So, with amazing names such as Break the Emotion and Blast from the Desert, all in caps. So,
didn't he also make a song called Soul on Desert?
He did. And
he did. That was for Sega Rally 2, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Another fantastic song. Yeah. I kind of want to dig up all the old Sega Rally games now.
That dude just seems to have unlimited ideas for guitar melodies and guitar licks.
Yeah, you just need to get him like making racing game songs forever, apparently. Like, just get him on games that are fast.
Yes.
And he'll do an okay job. But, and by okay, I mean amazing.
Yeah,
so,
like your favorite music ever.
Been listening to that.
Hey, no, we need an update. We need a Senoue update.
Okay.
How is your progress on the Emerald Coast theme going?
Oh, you mean like writing music and learning?
Yeah.
I haven't had any time for music recently.
Oh, because Bryan plays guitar and he used to more than he does now. And so you've been working on kind of a for fun arrangement of that. But
yeah, I haven't had any time to play music recently.
Oh, well.
And it's kind of bummed me out.
Now I'm disappointed.
Boring update, man. Nothing has happened. But yeah, I think that's most of what I've been listening to. I can't remember. Have I mentioned that I listened to that Harmony of Heroes Final Smash?
Yeah, I think we talked about we talked about it off the podcast. I don't know if we talked about it on the show or not.
All right. Well, I've been listening to that. It was an expansion album to the Harmony of Heroes album that came out, which was like 100 different Super Smash Bros. Inspired remixes. And this was an expansion album of about 27 tracks. And by about, I mean exactly 27 tracks.
Okay.
And yeah, like we've talked about, Steven, it is probably my favorite remix album I've ever listened to in terms of just consistent quality and originality and fun. So
I'm glad you agree.
Is it free? I forget if I paid for this.
It's free.
It is free. Everything's a free download over there.
Nice. So yeah, I highly recommend people check that out. One of my personal favorites from it is the Your Face's History, the Punch-Out remix that they turn into like an 80s rock song with lyrics.
Extraordinarily good.
Yeah.
It's funny and legitimately great at the same time.
Yes, absolutely. And that's about it. I mean, obviously I've been listening to Sonic Runners again.
Oh,
I
great.
just never stop, but yeah.
Cool. Well, aren't you going to ask what I've been listening to?
Steven, what have you been listening to?
I've been listening to Splatoons.
Oh.
We mentioned
that's the new Game Chops album, isn't it?
It is the new Game Chops album, and it's super fun. I listened to it top to bottom while making a pizza, and it was the best part of my day. So, you know how Overclock Remix kind of has a system in place where they have people create a brand new song from the ground up based on a melody from, a video game. And that's the remixes I'm used to hearing. Splatoons is kind of more of a traditional remix where it takes a lot more heavy sampling from Splatoon.
Oh.
And then just chops it up and stuffs a bunch of bass into it and makes it, I guess, danceable, you could say.
Huh.
And it's pretty rad. I liked it a lot. I just like Splatoon's music a lot in general. It's just very happy. And I guess listening to this made me realize how good the soundtrack is. I think it's one of my favorites of the year.
Yeah.
It's, the first time I heard it, I liked it, but I didn't realize how memorable and unique it was until I heard it remixed.
Yeah, I would actually like to check that album out. I haven't actually, I've just seen you playing Splatoon. I haven't played it extensively myself, so I'm not super familiar with the soundtrack yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'll get more out of it if you play the game, though. Because it remixes sounds from the game, and, I think, oh, this is the song that plays when you win, so now I'm just in a good mood. And, oh, the Squid announcers are saying stay fresh, and it's remixed into the... It's great. Have you played Splatoon, Bev?
I don't have a Wii U, so I hadn't played Splatoon, but I have definitely heard a lot of good things about it, and saw all the trends exploding on my social media about it.
Yes.
Are you Team
game.
Dog or Team Cat? That's the real question.
I voted Team Dog in their little, what do they call, Splatfest?
Yeah.
And then they shut the Splatfest down due to technical difficulties. And then they put it back up, but I haven't played since then.
Team Dog won.
Yay!
Yeah.
Everyone on the Miiverse was drawing dogs and cats incessantly. It was great. So what else? Speaking of the Mercado Bros, I've been listening to Carl B. and the Soul Surgeons.
Oh yeah, his funk album.
Carl's funk album, indeed. I listened to it in the car.
Yeah, it's groovy stuff.
All the way through, and it brightened my day. It's really good, laid back, funky. I don't want to say background music in a derogatory sense.
Right, but it's really not trying to grab your attention the whole time.
Yeah, it's not
very chill.
Melody focused. It's groove focused, as Carl would say, no doubt. So that's fun. Carl being the Soul Surgeons gets a nice review from me. And other than that, I've just been catching up on OC Remix stuff. Listened to the CEO album, downloaded like 50 songs because I'm really behind on recent
Yeah, I've been meaning to go
releases.
back to all of their albums and kind of fill in the ones that I missed. Mm-hmm. But I got distracted with Sega Rally 2006, which is really good.
Fair enough. The Saturn is distracting, and so is Senoue. And that's kind of it for me. It wasn't a Saturn game? Oh!
It's 2006, man!
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. He do a Saturn game?
I'm sure he did,
game?
but
I don't know.
Yes. I bet there was a Sega Rally Saturn game. And it sounds like Saturn music. I just doubt it was Saturn
No,
music.
you're right. I don't know anything. Let's move on to the open question.
All right.
Since I love asking questions so much. So the open question is where we take a topic, thought up usually by my own brain, and pass it around the table, This
episode brought to you by Steven's brain.
That sounds really dangerous. So the open question, we're about to get to that right now, which is, musically speaking, what are your top 5 Sega games, or Sega soundtracks, I should say.
I guess my question is,
what are your top 5 Sega soundtracks?
Musically speaking, my top 5 Sega soundtracks be? Would I be like,
sorry, the original question I wrote down was, musically speaking, what are your top 5 Sega franchises?
Okay.
But I thought that was too confusing, so I changed it to games, but didn't change the wording.
Gotcha.
Clearly, this episode brought to you by my brain.
It's funny you say this, because my favorite soundtracks don't actually match up with my favorite games for all things Sega.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, one game in particular is actually notoriously bad to play, but its soundtrack is still a pleasure to hear whenever I get the chance to bring it up.
Yeah, well, there are...
Weirdly enough, my favorites, these are close to my favorite games, which is strange. But Steven, do you want to go around and then I'll do a number 5 pick and then I'll do a number 4 pick and just work the way up the list?
So... right before I sent the email out to Bryan and Bev about this, I pulled Bryan aside and said, is this too cruel? Are we putting ourselves through torture that doesn't need to exist? Because I have so many favorite Sega soundtracks. Mm-hmm. But I thought it would be fun, so I did it anyway, and it was very difficult for me to pare it down.
Right.
But
it was surprisingly easy, but I probably made some wrong choices.
Well, there's no wrong choice, there's no right choice. This is what is in your heart. Speak from
Open your heart.
Open your heart.
Open your heart.
It's gonna be alright.
We'll live and learn from this experience.
I have a feeling you're going to be going in his world soon enough, Bryan.
We could keep this up for way too
7
long.
rings in hand!
There are endless possibilities for these puns.
If there's one thing we're all doing, we're reaching for the stars, right?
You're pretty much just reciting the Crush 40 single Sonic Youth at this point.
Well, I've opened my heart, and I've lived and learned. When I'm taking a step in his world.
You You're actually incredibly right.
So we all independently set aside our top 5 Sega soundtracks.
Yep.
And now we're going to come together and figure out the verdict.
And we can never turn back.
Let's we're gonna count up starting from 5.
All right.
So Bryan.
Yeah.
What is your 5th favorite?
Important note, you said favorite and not best. So before people listen to this and say, man, this guy doesn't know how music works, this is going to be highly based
Personal?
on 2 things. One, nostalgia, because I grew up with Sega in the 90s, so the things that are nostalgic to me rank much higher in my personal favorites beyond just their musical ability. And second, what I have available to listen to actively, because Sega music is something I go to and listen to throughout the day a lot. So if an album never made it into my iTunes library, or I could never really find a rip of it or something like that, it's less likely to be in my favorites, even if over time I might like it as much as the other stuff. So
Okay.
those
Fair
2
qualifications.
factors are going to color my opinions a lot. But that said, I still think everything I chose is excellent. It's just, I don't want
And the
people to get
one,
mad.
I want to add a third one to your list.
Sure.
The music I enjoy doesn't mean it's good. As in, I can realize a song is bad and still love to listen to it. And so it could still wind up on my list.
Sure. So that said, my number 5 pick is Sonic and the Secret Rings.
Sonic and the Secret Rings. What a fine soundtrack that is.
Yeah. So for people who haven't heard Sonic and the Secret Rings before, it's like, oh my gosh, I tried to explain this so many times. Arabian pop.
rock hip hop fusion.
Yeah, I guess so. Arabian pop rock hip hop fusion, which, common genre, kind of stereotypical.
The way I see it with Secret Rings is that it's Sonic Rush given the world treatment right there.
That's kind of a good way to put it, yeah. You're right. It's got the funkiness.
But it's a lot more hard-hitting than Sonic Rush. Sonic Rush had more of the fun Naganuma stuff, and
Yeah,
this one
is trying
had
to be cooler.
Yeah,
Sure.
it's got an edge to it. It's got a lot of rap yelling.
Yeah, I think probably.
This is Runblebee we're on about here. So, artist I've been familiar with since the release of Sonic Riders.
And then apparently, the voice for Sonic and Mario at the All-Star Olympics or whatever.
That's funny.
Apparently it's the announcer voice, but otherwise I have no idea what else. That group.
If I can recall correctly, I ended up doing some contributions for the Funstar Online series.
Oh, really?
Particularly for Universe and Portable. I think he did an arrangement of Save This World, but it sounds more like a completely new song than the actual track itself.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Probably the thing that stands out most to me about Sonic and the Secret Rings, beyond, just the overall vibe of it being so original, is the percussion. I cannot get enough of. The drum section
It's
is
strong.
so active and so fun and so punchy that it's kind of why I'm listening to a lot of the tracks, which is actually fairly rare for me because I'm, a guitar player. I don't always pay that much attention to percussion, but this album really grabbed me with that. So,
And I
kinda
just like
mainstay
the
for me.
identity that Sonic and the Secret Rings,
Totally.
hangs its hat on. It's
Yeah.
totally nuts.
Its use of lyrics are incredible and fun. Wicked Wild is a wonderful example of this. So yeah, that's my 5 pick for me. What about you, Steven?
My number 5 is Sonic Runners.
Oh, it made it! It didn't make it for me.
It made it! Sonic Runners is the most recent Sonic game, a mobile game that I don't actually think is particularly fun. It's okay, but boy do I love the music. I've listened to it, over 20 times, I think, at this point. They recently released the soundtrack. It's just everything that I love about listenable, everyday, fun, poppy music.
That's what I was thinking is in my list it was number 1 is just listenable. It's a short soundtrack, but every single one I rate incredibly highly just because I like to hear it. Very fun melodies, very catchy just choices of instruments, and Tomoya Ohtani just has a way of using piano with guitar to just make something very sweet and fun sounding. It's just
And something
really
that
enjoy it.
feels like you could sing to any of those songs.
Oh, yeah.
It
Super
seems like they
melodic.
could put lyrics on top of any of them. And I just think it's crazy and cool that all of a sudden, out of the blue, this Sonic mobile game comes out and gets into my top 5 Sonic soundtracks of all time, and I really like all the Sonic soundtracks, like, a lot. Yeah. So it's crazy. And so, Bev, I assume you kind of heard some of the Runner stuff?
Bits of it in the run-up towards the actual worldwide release. Sometimes I hear people asking for certain tracks on the RadioSEGA 24/7 stream before showtime, and I actually tend to think it tends to blend in a lot with the Sonic Lost World soundtrack in terms of feel. And I do see why. You mentioned with Tomoya Ohtani's way of blending in acoustic instruments to create something more joyful to listen to. Mm-hmm. It's very pleasant to take in, I'll give you that.
That's actually interesting that you mention that, because the levels and the songs are based on Lost World. So if you compare them side by side, you can see kind of where the influence comes from. The thing that struck me was how different it was, weirdly enough. I actually don't like this Lost World soundtrack very much. I wouldn't even put it in like my top.
I think it's very similar, some of it like Windy Hill Zone. That was the Tomoya Ohtani track from Lost World that is actually extremely similar to one of the tracks.
I kind of feel like it's the fulfillment of that style. Like, it's what it was going for, but I don't know, it amps it up and throws it in a direction that I like a lot.
Sure.
Anyway.
I can see that. So, well, I mean, if I look at the, for me at least, I go back to the Sonic, Lost World, and my favorite tracks from it can be a little bit similar to this one. But I feel like it was such a broad soundtrack that I didn't like everything that it did.
I agree. That's true. So that's my number 5. How about you, Bev?
Alright, so I have a feeling I might end up really shaking some people with my number 5 pick, but I end up putting down Jet Set Radio.
Oh yeah. What? I've never heard anyone enjoy that music before.
I love that soundtrack.
That's fantastic. Wonderful stuff.
See, we already mentioned with Hideki Naganuma that he's been able to really create a lot of fun with a lot of his works, and it actually works a lot well with the black market radio setting that we actually have going for this one. The whole street gang kind of feel. Plus, as someone who's very familiar with the breakbeat-driven approaches for Norman Cook back in the 1990s, I can actually, not Norman Cook is in Fatboy Slim, as we all know. I can actually see a lot of stylistic influences that manages to reflect the overall scope and edge of the entire game. It's like one of those titles that really seems to push the Dreamcast to its limits visually. And it's something that has made a very strong impression to try and make gamers not forget the overall presentation.
Yeah,
totally.
You're completely right about that. It's a game that is impossible to forget in like every way.
Yeah, when I was going through my list, I was trying to figure out like would I consider Jet Set Radio to go on this or Jet Set Radio Future, and they both have their own. Like Fly Like a Butterfly just makes you want to choose Jet Set Radio Future. And Funky Dealer, but there's something about Jet Set Radio that is more classic. A lot of the songs in Future actually are remixing the ones.
And I would probably tend to go for Future between the two of them, but as a little spoiler alert, it didn't make it on my list.
Oh, wow.
Seems completely criminal, but I don't know. It was so close. It's right there after Sonic Runners, but I feel bad for not including it now. So, Bryan, go ahead. No,
I was just going to say, I think very few people would put Sonic Runners above.
I know.
Jet Set Radio.
Sonic Runners just speaks to me personally. It's an emotional thing.
Sure.
So, what's number 4, Bryan?
Well, let me pull up my list. There we go. That would be. It almost feels unfair. I feel like it's saying Super Smash Bros. Is one of my favorite soundtracks because it's like all remixes, but Sonic Generations.
Sonic Generations is actually my favorite, and so I took it off the list because it was all remixes. That was just my personal code.
Okay, fair enough. I'm not sure it's my favorite because I think I kind of just factored in the fact that it was remixes to my list.
Yeah.
And how much I value it existing compared to the other original albums. But yeah, I still love it. Like the quality of the remixes they did is incredible, and it's like, as someone who grew up with Sonic history and loves everything from like the original Sonic up until he basically stopped making games for all intents and purposes. Getting this final celebration of everything Sonic up until the modern era was really rewarding to see it all treated equally, rather than people, when getting nostalgic about Sonic, tend to just focus on the Genesis games or something.
Or
like
then
that.
there are people like us who think that the Genesis games get enough spotlight, so we only talk about like Sonic Adventure.
Right, yeah, I just loved hearing it all and then merging the two styles, and I think they did a fantastic job. They, like, to the point where they were bringing back the original singer to re-record City Escape, and it's just like, this is wonderful.
That's
so everything about that was a joy for me.
Well, number 4 for me is Sonic and the Secret Rings. So we've already talked about that, but it's on my list as well. I can't believe it's there, kind of, when you look back at the retrospective against all of the Sonic games,
And Sega games.
Sorry, this isn't
like,
just a Sonic
contrary
list.
to our lists, this is not just Sonic.
Yeah, it's pretty much a Sonic list for me.
I think I know what both our exceptions are going to be, but we'll see.
But anyway, that's my number 4. How about you, Bev?
I'm probably gonna rustle a lot of feathers with this one, though, but for all the wrong reasons this time around. My number 4 pick is Sonic 06.
Oh,
That's a good soundtrack.
That is an interesting pick. I actually don't own that soundtrack.
Look into that one. I remember you were playing it recently, Steven, on that desert level, and it was actually a really beautiful melody there.
I agree.
But
So
I haven't listened.
why do you like the soundtrack so much, Bev?
Well, I ended up picking this one mostly because, just like you said with Tomoya Ohtani before, she actually manages to create a lot of beautiful soundscapes overall, and it manages to really reflect the Sonic Adventure-esque approach that had been given towards this game. A lot of the tracks also feel a lot more, complete, and didn't need to rely on so many guitar riffs all the way through. So, from the chilled varieties of Wave Ocean, the jazz fusions of Radical Chase, the Dream Trance-esque movements for White to Crapless, which actually inspired me to actually arrange that a couple of years ago for the Sonic Stadium as well. We also saw the iconic post-apocalyptic driven big orchestral gonna say, what's it called again? Crisis City. You also mentioned that in Sonic Generations, which that's also not on my list because it's mostly remixes, but their music is remixed very well, and that can. And wait a minute, how did I change subject twice in one sentence? How does that even work? Anyway, so
that was impressive. Yeah, I was following.
But Sonic 06, wonderful soundscapes. The occasional rearrangement of as done mostly courtesy of Crush 40, whenever they get the point in there. And an overall nice atmospheric feel to it. It's a bit of a shame the game itself couldn't really follow up from it.
That's a remarkably consistent trait of the Sonic series from game to game, is the soundtracks are always incredible, even when the games don't meet them. So,
and I think I appreciate most of that game's music, but I think that the reverse nostalgia does have an effect on me, where I hear that beach music and I just cringe and remember how horrendously disappointed I was when
I guess that's why a lot of people can't enjoy Sonic Adventure music, like who are a fan of the Genesis music, because it just reminds them of unfulfilled hopes. Even though I wasn't in that camp. But yeah, it's... Did Tomoya Ohtani do any work on that game? I actually never looked... Yeah, it looks like he did. Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'd like to look into like which tracks he did and listen to that album in full, because Ohtani's contributions are some of my favorite to the Sonic series at this point. So yeah, so are we moving on to 3 now? Is that right?
Number 3.
All right. My number 3 is not a Sonic game.
Really?
Which, there we go. Surprisingness. It is Nights into Dreams.
That's my number 3 as well.
Of course it is. And I know what both our number 1 is.
Yeah, our lists are very similar.
Wait, are our lists like pretty much exactly the same, except I put in Sonic Generations and you put in Sonic Runners, but you would have put in Sonic Generations except for the technicality?
Probably. We're very similar people.
Yeah, totally. No problem there. So, yes, Nights into Dreams is... Steven, you just feel this one because I feel you...
Nights into Dreams. It's a great thing.
Maybe I shouldn't
Everyone loves Nights. Sorry. No, Nights into Dreams is pure magic, and every single level is like an 8 20-plus-minute jam session that sounds like nothing else in the world. It's like
very
a dream, as it were.
Just flitting from one thing to the other because of the type of technology they put into the game where, based on your interaction with the world, the soundtrack itself would change. There are so many different variations that when strung all together, it's this cohesive piece that's just constantly wandering into different directions for each level soundtrack. So it's amazing.
Yes, and the boss music is great too.
Yeah, completely different.
Yeah, you get some shredding guitars,
dark,
some intensely good saxophone pieces. It's good. So I've got to know though, Bev, are you a Knights fan?
I'm not really into Knights as much as most other Sega fans. In fact, if we're looking at Tomoya Suzuki, is that you say her name? In fact, if we're looking towards her works, I'm actually more of a Ristar fan than Knights more than anything else.
Okay. I like that too,
Ristar's amazing, yeah.
That's cool. So what's your number 3 though? Because mine is Knights.
And mine is not Knights. Okay, my number 3 is Bayonetta.
Oh!
Never played Bayonetta, but I love the music.
I don't know the music in that game.
This is the thing with Bayonetta. We end up seeing a great fusion of jazz fusion themes, big epic orchestral scores, as well as the occasional rearrange of a classic video game tune or two, depending on what game you're actually playing right there. I actually managed to pay attention when when Bayonetta 2 managed to win the BGMO award for best for overall best soundtrack. I'm trying to see if I can actually look this up online right now.
Because I have only heard a little bit of Bayonetta, like, I don't know, maybe 5 or so songs. I remember it being very jazzy and kind of just going its own way, which I appreciated.
Yeah, it's like Rouge's stages from Sonic Adventure 2 cranked up to 11. That is how I end up seeing it.
Oh, yeah, now I have a really good feeling of what that soundtrack is like. Who were the composers on that?
I have no idea.
According to VTMDB, the original composers, if I can load the page, there's a lot of people. I can't even read them all off.
Yeah, that's crazy. There were, like 8 or 9. That's insane. That's what I should check that soundtrack out. Yeah, that's a game or an entire series I never really got a chance to try out. So I did try Vanquish. That didn't have a great soundtrack, but it was a great game.
If there's anything we've come to know about Platinum Games and their contributions towards Sega, they definitely have a great vision with their music. We may not specifically like it, which in my case for Mad World and Anarchy Reigns, it's mostly big scary hip-hop, which is something that isn't really my cup of tea. But I can see the vision that's been done there to make it feel like it's got more Western influences more than anything you'll probably see coming out from the Japanese shores. So, yeah, I'm very happy with what Platinum have been putting together.
Totally. Very good pick. And also, like, not an old traditional Sega property. You know, it's a newer, weirder thing they publish, which is cool. And now for my number 2, which is Binary Domain.
Me. Oh, okay.
I'm just joking.
You wanted to make a joke.
I needed to make a Binary Domain joke.
Nice.
I love that.
Alpha
game.
Protocol is my number 2.
Okay, Brian, so let's be serious. We both know what our number 1 and number 2
Yeah, it's just a question of what order did we put them in.
So the question is, and we didn't like compare notes before, we just know where this is going. Are we putting Sonic Adventure 1 above Sonic Adventure 2 or vice versa?
So I put Sonic Adventure 1 above Sonic Adventure 2.
I put Sonic Adventure 1 above Sonic Adventure 2 as well.
You set that up like it was going to be different. All right, so what's your reasoning for the Sonic Adventure 1 pick?
I think it's because Sonic Adventure... Okay, let me give you a little bullet point list here.
Can I feel like we're going to have the same bullet points?
Bullet point list number 1, Sonic Adventure 1 has much less bad music.
Yep, it's more consistent.
Yes,
totally.
It's more consistent. Number 2, it's more fun and classic and listenable.
Lighter.
Yes, it's lighter. Number 3, it has my favorite Sonic song in it.
your favorites. Is this the theme of Big the Cat?
Yeah, it's the instrumental version.
Hey, little guy!
That gets a lot of
Love that
Radio
song.
Sega requests.
You just send that request in repeatedly.
But no, it's actually the first song that plays in Emerald Coast.
Oh, right. Azure World?
Yeah, I think so, yes.
Yep.
Are there more
Fantastic.
bullet points? I don't know. And it just created the entire, like, modern...
Azure Blue World. Sorry, it's more redundant than
It created the modern face of Sonic music, which
Totally.
is a great thing.
Yeah, I absolutely love the soundtrack in Sonic Adventure 1. I also just think, like, musically, it's more complex, and maybe sophisticated than Sonic Adventure 2. I found Sonic Adventure 2...
I don't know if I agree. Sometimes I think Sonic Adventure 1 is a little simpler and a little more, predictable. Sonic Adventure 2 did some pretty cool, weird stuff.
I can see that. Sonic Adventure 2, like, in terms of the Sonic stages, I feel more kind of punk direct rock, and it's good, but I feel just kind of more traditional rock. While Sonic Adventure 1 almost feels like it's very video game music, but it felt more jazz influenced. It felt like it went more places with its melodies and how it merged its
Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic Adventure 1 felt like a video game. Sonic Adventure 2, like, split into specific genres of music.
Yeah,
so
totally.
It was interesting.
The problem is not all those genres were great.
Exactly. And if you want to hear us talk for like an hour about Sonic Adventure 2,
Oh, I'm sure they do.
we made an entire episode like running through the entire game and its soundtrack and everything about it. So, go look that up. But now we'll move...
And you can't forget Chao's Doki Doki Banana Chips Run Mix.
No,
which
you
is
can't
wonderful.
forget that. I never do forget it. But Bev, what is your number 2 and number 1?
Okay, well, both of them are non-Sonic, so no surprises there. Okay, so my number 2 goes to Phantasy Star Online. Yay! This is the game that I actually hadn't played simply because I had the Dreamcast, but from what I end up hearing of the music, this is something that I end up seeing that's been given this big, complex scope given out to all the you know what I mean, to the general atmosphere, and you keep on hearing all these complex chords and ambience and spacing out and everything. You're more likely to get a bigger example just from trying to experience the soundtrack more than anything else. It's really hard to describe. It's also strange. I don't even have I don't think many of us have Phantasy Star Online 2 because it's just a Japan-only release, but just from hearing some of the melodies has done, well, for some of the bigger numbers, I mean, I've seen quite a lot of people asking for Archer of Destiny from that score on the Radio Sega website outside of Showtime, but we end up seeing something that could sound like it could not only fit in a big cinematic score, but it could also be interpreted in many different ways all at once, so it's like this, it's like this wonderful fusion right there.
That's great. I guess I haven't actually listened to, at least I haven't checked in a long time as to what Phantasy Star Online 2 even sounds like. I assume it sounds like the first game, so I just am going to love it automatically, but...
The way I see it, the music scores for Phantasy Star Online, Universe, Portable, and Online 2 can sound very similar in vision, but why not? This is the way to really bring up the feelings behind the fans as the series had progressed at that point.
That's cool. I really like that pick. I'm glad we got some Phantasy Star in there. Did you ever play the older RPGs on the Genesis and whatnot?
I've played Phantasy Star 3.
Okay.
And that's it. But I really hope to try and play the others down the line as well. I know I can get the second and fourth ones on Steam, but I don't know if I'm able to try and get the first one in any means or form other than Sonic Ultimate Collection.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Something interesting about Sega music is, as we've been talking about it, like, there are all these different styles and types of soundtracks that we've all been enjoying, but, like, the composers can be really consistent from one to the other. Like, you take Phantasy Star, you take Knights, you take Sonic, and Fumi Kumitani's like working on all of those.
Well, they've got things like the Sega Sound Team, and they've got Crush 40, and they have this they have multiple identities in their music teams. They take it pretty darn seriously.
But a really broad variety of styles as well, which is really nice.
Yeah, that's cool. So that is your number 2. Wait, what's your number 1?
My number 1, believe it or not, is Streets of Rage.
Interesting.
That's awesome because if you had picked anything but a Genesis title or a Master System title,
we would have had no Genesis.
A Mega Drive, sorry. I keep saying Master System. I'm the worst. Yeah, I was about to say, where's all the like old school stuff? That's great. I love the Streets of Rage soundtrack.
Yeah, why does that rank for you when like the other Genesis stuff didn't?
Well, it's very strange because when I try to listen to chiptunes, I just tend to hear them more like in a game kind of context more than being able to listen to them outside of a scope. But Streets of Rage really managed to break out of the ordeal by being able to create these fully fleshed 90s Detroit dance-like tunes for the first 2 games, and that is something that really managed to push the barriers of the YM2612 chip all the way out from its original intents and purposes. It's something that you can also oh goodness sake, I'm trying to figure out exactly where to go. This is something we can really expect from Yuzo Koshiro, being able to really create a set of music that really brings out the best of the entire soundboard, and that is why that is particularly up there for me.
No, that's a great choice. If it's not one of my personal favorites, although I love the soundtrack, it's one of the most important or impressive or technically marvelous, you could say. I'm with you, right with you there.
Yeah, yep. From the Genesis, I'd say like my standout ones are, of course, the Sonic games are fantastic.
Which, by the way, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, I think, is right below my number 5 slot.
Yeah, it's right up there with me as well. That goes back to I haven't had it readily available to listen to.
Yeah.
So I just don't think I've heard it enough times for it to get in my brain like these others have. Shinobi 3 was one of my favorite non-Sonic soundtracks on the Genesis. I think that was pretty exceptional as well. But yeah, Streets of Rage is also a really good one.
It's a very good pick.
You mentioned the Shinobi as well. That's something that Yuzo Koshiro also worked on. Also seems that's a very different beast to try and look into in comparison to Streets of Rage. It was more like hearing 90s rock being swifted, being being molded with traditional Eastern writing influences there.
Yeah, it's like 90s really, ninja rock.
It's not really the best way to try and bring out the power of the system, but it's really appropriate for the style of game we have there, and will probably make the 90s gamer want to approach it even more.
And the Genesis is really good at making those
very sharp sounds. Yeah, fantastic.
Well, those are some pretty strong Sega lists right there. So if you're looking for new Sega music, just follow up along all those lists and you'll find some of the best ones. But there are a lot of good ones we didn't even mention.
Totally. Yeah, I wanted to put Sonic Colors on there somewhere.
Oh, yeah. Oh, of course, all Sonic music is good, right? So that's just
pretty
go
much.
Look that up.
Pretty much.
But now we have a little quick news segment. Not a lot of news today, which is good because we're starting to run low on time. But I did want to mention that Overclocked Remix recently announced a new album.
Oh my gosh.
Did you hear about that, Bryan?
An album. No.
Okay. Well, it's not that exciting for us because it's another Final Fantasy album.
Oh,
so
yay.
One of two things needs to change. Either OC Remix needs to stop making so many Final Fantasy tribute albums, or we need to start liking Final Fantasy. I'm thinking maybe the second...
One of us has to break.
Yeah, one of us has to break.
What is it this time?
This time it's Final Fantasy 9, I believe.
Okay.
It's called Worlds Apart.
Okay.
And it seems like this time, and I forgive me for not doing thorough research, and also forgive me if this news is a little bit old, because we have a weird schedule going on. This episode's going to go up late. Yeah. But they seem to have partnered up with some really cool artists. And by artists, I mean drawers. Because there's just a bunch of cool, unique artwork for this album.
Huh.
So it's called Worlds Apart, coming out this summer. So, catch it.
I think the main reason why there's so many Final Fantasy was because so many people wants to make a lot of Final Fantasy albums at the, at close to the same time. And I mean, somewhere around the previous couple of years, what with Final Fantasy VI,
yep.
I think, no wait, it was FF1 that led the trend, not FF6. What am I thinking? And on top of that, Brandon Strader, the director for Random Encounter, the Final Fantasy 1 album, he wanted to do the entire NES trilogy anyway, all simultaneously. That guy is crazy. And I
know.
I can see that because I'm on the artist roster for Final Fantasy 3 as well. And I keep on telling him, I can't finish your track just yet, it's not important, FF2 isn't out yet! although FF2 is already out, so might as well get on with that.
Brandon just won't stop. Like, he just makes so many remixes, it's scary.
I keep on wondering exactly what his next step would end up being. He's got so much ground on OC Remix, and it's absolutely crazy to hear all his development idea. What's gonna happen now? What's going on? What is his goal? What is his place in life? Where is he?
Well, no doubt he takes his energy from remixes and will eventually consume the entire website and then move on to New York City. So, while we worry ourselves about that, my other piece of news is that Minami Matsume is back. Not only has she been doing cool stuff like working on Shovel Knight.
Oh, okay.
And Mighty Number 9. But she is now going to come out with a new solo album. And there are going to be tribute albums as well that are like curated. Oh, go ahead.
It going to be chiptune?
I don't know. Nobody knows. It's not coming out till 2017.
She probably knows.
Or late 2016 or early 2017.
That's cool.
Let me check my news source, which in this case is vgmonline.net. That's where I got the story. Yep, 2017 is where she's thinking about releasing this album. So she hasn't done like an original, non-video game soundtrack in maybe ever. I don't know. At least we haven't gotten it. It's just cool that she keeps coming out of her shell more and more now that she realizes she still has an audience.
Yeah, that's rad.
Yep. But that's it for news from the city, which means we only have one segment left in this podcast, which is the ever popular, at least in as far as I'm concerned,
Train Your Brain.
The Train Station at 8 quiz show. So, I'm very sorry if either of you are tired of talking about the subject, but I put a quiz together all about Sega. So, that's what we've got.
I am not surprised. I'm going to admit, I saw this coming.
Well, at least... Wait, how many do I have on here? Okay, I have the correct amount. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes. At least I didn't make it a Sonic quiz again.
That's true.
Which is what I've been trying to do. But yeah, so the way that this quiz works is I will play snippets that are about 10 seconds long each, and the two of you will see if you can identify what game they're from. And
we are cooperative, not competitive.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
Not keeping score, but you will get imaginary points for getting extra details right, like composer. So, if that all makes sense and you guys are ready to go, we'll start playing the music.
Right, I'm good.
All right. Song number 1. Any takers?
If I didn't think any wiser about this, I probably would have guessed Daytona USA.
Well, that's interesting that you say that, because it's Daytona USA.
It's just
definitely had that Saturn sound.
I thought I could recognize that cheesy rock and synthesized Takanori Mitsuyoshi vocal down there.
Yeah. It almost sounded like Streets of Rage samples there at the end, like people punching each other.
It'd go. That's Start Your Engines from Daytona USA.
Nice.
Which is just the loveliest soundtrack. So,
I love that stuff.
Genuinely happy. All right. Song number 2.
Understand the concept of love. Concept of love, the concept of passion mix from Ollie King.
Oh, you got it. Nice.
Yeah, that was not the original mix. I did not know what new mix that was, but I'm like, wait a minute, this sounds wrong. I was just disturbed. I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah, just the disquiet, like Bev is over there singing and Brian's like, what's going on? The world is ending.
What wizardry is this?
I'm sorry.
Love it. I love that song.
So, Brian, have you heard the Ollie King soundtrack before?
No.
Hideki Naganuma. It's
what is
kind
this?
of like a spiritual successor to Jet Set in a weird way. I don't think
It's funny you say that. I think it was developed as a Jet Set Radio 3 for the soundtrack, but I think the scope ended up changing towards a straightforward skating game. The soundtrack
make
makes
sense.
it keep its
Wait, there's
way
another
like that.
Naganuma soundtrack? Is it a full soundtrack?
It is a full soundtrack. In fact, there's also another remix there for Jet Set Radio Future as well, an arrangement of Technopathetic in there. It gives it this really cool new disco twist as well.
That's fantastic. I will check that out.
Yep, check it out.
All right.
And also check out song number 3.
Oh, Valkyria Chronicles.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah. Like main theme, maybe?
Yeah, it's the main theme.
Okay.
Okay, that's 3.
I love that soundtrack. That also I considered it for my list. But
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's really good. So you guys got 3 out of 3 so far. You're doing really
All
good.
right.
Maybe I should have made these more obscure, but here's one that might throw you for a loop.
Oh,
Sonic
I think
Advance.
this is from Sonic Battle. I think it's a sound
yeah.
chip that might have given it away.
it's either Sonic Battle or Sonic Advance 3. But I think you're right about Sonic Battle.
Which one are you guys going to go for?
My instinct was Sonic Advance 3, but I'm not against the Sonic Battle pick here.
It's Sonic Advance 3!
Oh, wow.
Oh, goodness sake.
Done! It's the character select theme.
Yeah.
Okay,
Cool.
it was obviously like a Sonic Game Boy Advance title. You
It was
guys,
obviously on the game. It was obviously on the Game Boy Advance. I was just trying to figure out. I knew it was going to be one of the later ones. Just, I guess I might have guessed Battle mostly because it already had that big, strong energy to begin with.
not to
Yep.
mention it used the organ as well.
Yep. That's huge in Sonic Battle.
I'm curious, Brian, why did you jump immediately to 3 instead of 1 or 2?
I think it was my subconscious saying this is not 1 or 2. Just these sounds are 3. The organ, the type of music that, yeah.
Okay.
I don't listen to the soundtracks enough to like know them intellectually, but my brain still just pattern recognizes it, I think.
Nice.
I also have played Sonic Advance 2, and I could remember off the top of my head, this does not sound like a Sonic Advance 2 song.
Yeah.
That's true. I love that soundtrack, but it was very different, so.
All right. Well, then collectively, you guys have got them all so far. But here's
Nice.
one that is a personal favorite of mine that isn't particularly well known.
The organ sounds like Sonic Advance 1, but the rest of it is too advanced. Ha ha ha.
It sounds like something that Richard Jakes might have done on the Saturn, but isn't most of his Sonic 3D Saturn stuff
No,
more like
it's not Sonic
ambient
3D.
dance?
I would recognize it if it was Sonic 3D Blast soundtrack pretty well. I mean, the Saturn version. Doesn't sound like the Genesis version either. I'm kind of stuck on this one.
Mm-hmm. Well,
The only other guess I can think of is Night's Journey of Dreams, but I don't even think it even sounds like it could fit in the Night's tracks.
What if
Although there's that sax.
It does have the same kind of quality. It isn't that, but I'll give you guys a hint. I'll tell you what console it's on.
That's what I need, yeah.
It's on the Nintendo Wii.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
You
the
were
Wii?
close to Journey of Dreams.
Yeah.
That's true.
What was on the Wii from Sega? Like, it wasn't...
It's definitely not Sonic Colors, I'll give you that.
No. It's not Somebody Amigo, I don't think. Jeez, what came out? I guess we're stumped on this one, Steven. Which one is this?
This one is from Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz.
Oh, right.
Monkey Ball! That is a game I unfortunately hadn't played, but heard so much about.
Yeah. Okay. What was that? What song was that?
That is a boss battle. Apparently it's called Boss Battle Tori.
Didn't Naganuma do the main theme for that game?
He sure did.
Yeah.
The main thing I've played on this very podcast because it's awesome.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's a great soundtrack. It also gets into super weird territory. Experimental even. All right, I'm just personally satisfied that I was able to stump you guys because you've been doing such a good job. We have
A game
one.
that neither of us had played much.
Yeah,
so you got us.
exactly. One more song.
Genesis.
I will probably guess Toe Jam and Earl. It's got that bass quality to it.
Yep.
That's a good guess.
The
good
funky
guess.
meter is off the charts. You're correct. It is Toe Jam and Earl. In fact, it's called Alien Breakdown.
Nice.
Gotcha!
Nice.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad we didn't have to do a big Genesis test because I think I would have failed a lot of
Well,
that.
we've already done a Genesis specific.
You're right. We did.
In the past, in the last episode actually with Dustin
Yeah.
Branscombe.
Cool.
So congratulations, you guys got 5 out of 6 of the questions correct. It's very impressive. And I dove pretty deep on some of these.
Yeah. And the speed at which you got a lot of those was pretty good.
Yeah, it didn't even let the songs finish. I like it. Very well done. All right, well, that brings us to the end of our episode of Train Station at 8. Bev, thanks for coming along for the journey. That was great.
What a wonderful trip that was, and thank you for actually having me on board this electric high-speed train.
You're welcome. And it was an excuse to play Sega music, whether you wanted me to or not, so at least we got that out of the way. And Bryan, thanks as well. You were a very good assistant conductor.
Oh, well, thank you for thanking me.
Yeah, no prob. Now for a little bit of deets, as they say on the streets. You can find us at whalesorwhales.com. Whales Are Whales is the network that hosts this show, along with other cool shows as well. That involve Bryan, myself, and our friends. You can also find us on Twitter, send us an email at Gmail, find us on YouTube. We're at Train Station at 8. I got so close to the end of the episode without Oju. You can find us on YouTube or at Twitter, at Gmail, all those places. We are Train Station at 8. So get in touch, give us show suggestions, or just say hello or whatever you want. And we'll be happy to hear from you. That's pretty much it for us. Bev, is there anything that you'd like to plug? Any projects or websites or that sort of thing?
Okay, let me say more about Overclocked Remix, which you can actually check out at allsaveremix.org. I actually got a good 20 arrangements there hosted up on the site. I'm over at RadioSEGA, which is RadioSEGA.net, where I do Sega Mixer Drive every Friday night at 4 p.m. Eastern. Go ahead, tune on in, join in the IRC, and have a good old, a good fun time with me. And, I am on my, Twitter feed, that's Rexy, that's Freqrexy. Let me see, I have a Facebook page, but I haven't used it for a while. I'm just plain old, Freqrexy again over there. Sega Mixer Drive also has a Facebook page, that's, again, all in one word right there. I have a SoundCloud, over at soundcloud.com/Freqrexy. I keep a great amount of tabs on up-and-coming, Sega arranging artists as well as occasionally uploading some things that I might have also recently done. So,
great.
That's pretty much my approach for this one.
Nice. I like it. And Radio Sega is a pretty fun place to hang out, and all of your remixes have been excellent on the site so far. So, great. Lots of fun stuff to check out, Rexy-wise. And that brings us, indeed, to the end of this episode. So, everyone, thank you very much for listening. We'll be back next week, as usual, and enjoy your lives until Brandon Strader consumes it, and everything is absorbed into his dark soul.